In this video, we're going to be interviewing my client Mark, who went from zero to his first $40,000 month within 14 weeks of being in my mentorship program. That is insane growth. Now, his whole progress wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. He actually has a very similar story to a lot of people that I talk about, and honestly, very similar story to myself when I first started, which was you start off in the business model, you're having trouble finding products, you're dealing with gating, you're dealing with bad suppliers, all of these issues that he ran into, and he still managed to go and within 14 weeks create such an amazing business. Now, if you read between the lines, we drop a lot of gems in this interview. It is going to be a little bit longer, but if you really want to grow your business, it's definitely going to be worth your time.
So when I started on the program, I didn't I think I had opened an account and maybe sold a few things, but I didn't really sell much. Um, I think the thing that I wanted to do was get into wholesale. I kind of realized early on that like especially online arbitrage just wasn't for me. Like for whatever reason, I just didn't click with me. And so I have a business background, and I felt like talking to vendors and things like that is definitely something that I could do and do well. So that was kind of why, kind of where I started.
Got it. And what got you to join the program? Since you were already kind of getting your feet wet, you're already kind of
Yeah.
making sales.
Yeah, there were a few things. So I talked to a because I mean you go on YouTube, and there's a lot of people doing what you do, selling courses and things like that. And so I talked to a couple, and part of the reason is the cost, for sure, is definitely the cost. And then I think I liked you because I feel like you're in my similar spot in life. Got a couple of kids, kind of married. So I'm not this 20-year-old kid who's looking to you know have a lot of energy. I don't know how to describe it, but where it's like, is this real or not? And so that was kind of what did it. And honestly, it kind of sounds silly, but the name of the course, the Wholesale Underground, because I was like, okay, wholesale, that's what I want to do, and that's kind of how I want to do it. And so that was also a big factor as well.
Yeah, and going back to there's so many people doing it, and it's like people are gonna vibe with different kinds of people because like I'm
Hmm.
just like you, right? If I need to learn something, like if I'm trying to learn something about marketing or whatever, I usually gravitate towards somebody who's kind of in my situation. And there
Hmm.
are so many like young guys that I'm like, dude, I don't have that kind of free time, right?
Right. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
kids, I have a wife, I have all these
Hmm.
responsibilities. So that was good that you vibed with me because I'm like, dude, this is my situation. Like I
Yeah.
make it work with this family situation.
Yeah.
It's like people can do it too.
Yeah, it's like all those guys, and I'm sure they're successful. This isn't to disparage them, but it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it just seems so loud to me. You know what I mean? It was like you're not that way. Like you're not like trying to sell, and it was a little more subdued. And like for some
Yeah,
reason yeah, I like that.
that's good, man. Where are you at right now in your business? Because I know, I think I remember when you first started out and I told you to go towards online arbitrage, get your feet wet, get a little bit more
Yeah,
experience. Um, I know you had some sales coming in. Do you remember how much you were at?
I'd have to look. Not a lot. So it was mostly RA, retail arbitrage, actually.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny. I don't know if you want me to say this, but I kind of went against what not just you said, but like I did some research into it, and everyone's like, start with online, online, online arbitrage. And I was just like, no. Like basically, I was just like, I just don't want to. And so like going around and doing the store thing, I actually kind of enjoy. It's like kind of fun. I did online. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I didn't do it. Um, I just didn't click with it, for some reason. And so I was just like, I feel like I'm just going to do this wholesale thing. Cause I think your advice was do retail arbitrage until you get to 10,000 a month. Um, and when I started doing wholesale, I was probably only at like 2 or 3 thousand a month, something like that,
Yeah.
or not a month. I mean, it wasn't that long. That's the thing. From when I started to when I started selling, wasn't like started selling a lot. Like it wasn't that short. It's been 4 months since I've joined your program, so we're not talking. I'm not talking about like, oh, it's been months, but it happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, you definitely grew quickly. So you were at, let's say, 2,000, 2,500 when you
Something like
first
that.
joined, and where are you at right now?
So my highest 12-month rolling total in sales is 40,000. So a little over 40.
for your highest 30 days, correct?
My highest 30 days. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to like the arbitrage stuff, it's like, yeah, I give you that kind of advice. But knowing now that you're saying you have a business background,
Yeah.
dude, usually past businesses or sales backgrounds do extremely well very quickly with wholesale.
Hmm.
So like knowing now that you have that background, I'm like, well, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Why when you started going towards wholesale, you were able to make it really quick, make it successful really quickly. But I think a lot of times people go into wholesale like it's all going to be butterflies and rainbows, and there's not
Hmm.
going to be any issue with no business experience whatsoever, and they have a really hard time.
That's one thing. Like, I kind of hesitate to say that. Like, I don't know, because I know that that was my path, right? Like, that was my thing. So other people watching this video or other people join the program, it might be completely different. So I'm not trying to discourage people from doing online arbitrage. I'm just speaking to what worked for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I agree. Like there's some people where it's like, no, you should 100%
Hmm.
stick to arbitrage. You should
Yeah.
100% go to wholesale. And
Yeah.
then even within wholesale, depending on your background, sometimes it'll be like, you need to go with your experience, go directly to brands or go directly
Yeah.
to
Exactly.
distributors. So everybody's like a background or expertise is going to
Mm.
help them in some way. Like selling on Amazon is all about like competitive advantages, right? So it's like you want to
Right.
exploit those competitive advantages. Even with like RA, like if you were around a bunch of outlets or something, it's like well, yeah, you probably
Yeah.
have a good competitive advantage instead of somebody out really rural with no shopping centers anywhere, right? And we want to
Yeah.
exploit those things.
I was just saying that is one thing I have. So I do like to do RA because I do have shopping centers around me. I have an outlets, I have within 30 minutes. I've got probably 4 or 5 outlets with under an hour, from me. Um, and then
Yeah.
so I do, and I just kind of like it, put a podcast in and start listening, on whatever, and just kind of be in my own world for a while. Um, and so I did like that. It's just that, online for some reason, sitting at the computer for me just wasn't it. But I understand that that is should be some people's path.
I look back at your account, you went from 2,000 to
Hmm.
40,000 per month in 14 weeks. What do you think is like the biggest challenge that you faced that was keeping you stuck at those lower numbers? Was it just the selling model? Was it just focusing
Hmm.
too much on RA? Or was it like where you were looking? Because I think don't say where you like what kind of
Yeah.
niche you're in, because I don't want to
Hmm.
blow that up.
I don't want to either.
I, but I think the niches that you were looking into with arbitrage kind of helped you find this blue ocean with
Yes, you're
wholesale that
right. That's
really
correct.
nobody's
Yes.
into.
Yeah, no, you're right. So it exactly. And so um I did kind of, go into that, and I just started searching for this particular thing. So the question is what held me back. And that's what I like about the program is it's kind of a step-by-step guide as to like get started. So like I probably wouldn't have started the LLC when I did if I didn't join the program. And I kind of like how you're just like just do it. It's a business, do it. And so I'm like, okay, and so there's several steps that you kind of go through in the program that it's just like you just do it, and it kind of in a way it's like putting trust in you and your experience and the other people in the group where I'm just like kind of that fear goes away of doing it. Like I don't know if fear is the right word, but just the hesitation, I guess. I'm not sure what exactly the correct word is I'm looking for, but it kind of just takes it all away, and if you just follow, it'll work, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that hesitation goes away just knowing that you have somebody to rely on. So like if
Yeah,
you reach
right.
out, like somebody's gonna respond. Because I remember when I first started, dude, I was like, well shit, do I really want to pay these $50,
Exactly.
for this
That's exactly
order?
right. Yes. Hmm.
Like am I gonna do this right? Or when you're sending out your first shipment, it's like, well, did I do it right? Or am I about to get my account shut
Yeah.
down? Or is these issues gonna happen? So I think that hesitation goes away, or at least it gets relieved a lot when you have somebody who's actually in your corner.
Well, and when I look at like even my first order, like I remember the product, and I remember I sent it to you. You looked at it and you said this is a home run. And even then I was still a little bit like trepid, a little bit like, okay, all right, guess I'll do it. We'll see what happens, kind of thing. And now I don't even think about it. It's like when I'm placing an order, it's just like it just happens. So it's like I think it is good having somebody just be like, just do it, like especially when I have a product like you checked that said was good, and then so now it's just kind of on autopilot, so to speak. I don't even think about it. And it
Yeah.
gives you confidence in ordering other products. Like once you order the one, like let's say you order the one SKU and then you want different SKUs, and it's kind of different variations, I guess is a better term. It definitely gives you confidence to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think I remember when you were telling me what niche you were in, and we were kind of looking through. All right, that's the supplier. Okay, let's kind of look
Yeah,
through it. Dude, and then when it actually started working, because I'm like, even for me, like I didn't even think of that niche, right? And it's
yeah,
like, dude, it's like right in your face, and it's such a blue
yeah,
ocean. Dude, I was so pumped because I was like, that's how people really blow up with very little competition. It's like
yeah,
find the blue ocean, and
yeah,
like blue oceans can be everywhere, right? And people get so caught up in like, let me just chase like the flashiest brand or the brand that everybody's talking about. And
yeah.
it's like, yes, you can make money with the brands that everybody's talking about, but usually by the time that they're talking about them, that train has passed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, like even RA, even when I look at like I'll go to a Nike outlet, retail arbitrage. When I go to a Nike outlet, I don't even buy at Nike anymore because I'm
Yeah.
just so worried that like because every like not every time, but a lot of times when I buy a Nike something, it just tanks. The price tanks. And so that's the thing. So I'm like, I don't even I'll go there's other stores at outlet malls that tends to happen less at. So like you're saying, yeah, it's like, you don't go after the Nike. I mean, you can. I mean, you can obviously find good Nike stuff. I'm not saying you can't. But like, I just would rather spend my time elsewhere on less popular. I mean, you can't get much less popular than Nike because it's the most popular. But yeah, there's other things besides the big boys, I guess.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. And I remember when I wanted to get into arbitrage, when I first started selling, dude, Nike was the thing that you wanted to sell,
Yeah.
right? And it was super
Hmm.
hard to get ungated. So then when I just focused on wholesale for a long time, and then when I came back around, I was like, all right, let's see how arbitrage is now. Let's see how the ungating process, because the ungating process was so much more lenient than it had been years ago. I
Right.
was like, all right, cool. Let me start selling some Nike, which is something that I wanted to sell since the very beginning when I first started
Hmm.
back in 2018. And it's like, yeah, like you said, like, yes, you can definitely sell Nike. You will definitely find some products that are going to be
Yeah.
good.
Right.
But there was just so much tanks, like
Yeah.
so many
Exactly.
tank
And it's
listings.
just
And it was
right.
like, dude, like you get something, you spend all this time, and it's like, boom, tank listing, tank
Yeah.
listing, tank
Yep.
listing.
Yep.
And it's because
Hmm.
it's the flashiest brand. It's
Yeah.
like everybody wants to sell it. And then as soon as they can, and then you pair that with such lenient ungating policies that they had going
Yeah.
on about a year ago.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so then all the new sellers just flood that
Yeah.
area. It's like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, I don't want to sell that anymore." So then I
Yeah.
sold Puma and Reebok and a couple other
Yes.
brands that were less and less known, and a couple other people in the program as well. They went away from those big brands, and then they went to lesser known brands. And it's like, dude, there's like no competition over here
Yeah.
because
Right.
everybody's so focused over here. And I think like as soon as you can start thinking outside the box, you see where the masses are going, and then you're like, all right, well, I'll dabble here, but let me go
Yeah.
explore somewhere else. That's when you find a lot of success.
Yeah. It's like I'll still walk around the Nike store, but I'm just trepid about it. And I don't know if this is actually true, but it seems like, if something goes on clearance at one Nike store, it goes on clearance at all the Nike stores across the country. So that's just a ton of people buying the same product. And so if
Yeah.
that happens all at once, it's obviously going to tank.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there like a moment where things just clicked for you? Because if I remember correctly, you had the same struggles that pretty much everybody has. You had
Yeah.
some issues finding products. I think you had
Yeah.
an IP complaint.
Yeah.
I think you had another issue with another listing, but you had these issues that a lot of people have, and then most people just give up, and then they're like, "All right, I
Yeah.
can't make listings. I'm not finding anything, whatever." So then they kind of walk away from the business. What kept you in there, and like, what was that moment where things just clicked, and then you just took off? Because it was a little short time, and then you just kind of exploded.
It was just one of those things where it's like, there's just so many people doing it. Like, I don't consider myself a genius, but I would imagine there's a lot of people dumber than me who are succeeding at this. And so
Mhm.
I'm like, I can do this, and that's pretty much it, and I just had it's funny because I've been in several different businesses and I've just never had a fire to do something like I had to do this. I don't know why, but it's just, and especially if you knew the product I sell, that makes what I'm saying even funnier.
Yeah.
It's it's just this weird thing that I just wanted to do because I could do it from home. Like, you know, and I got lucky because my supplier, you know, lives 35 minutes from me. So I don't have to pay that, you know, all kinds of shipping and stuff. And so,
Yeah.
or my main supplier. And so so if you look at the roadblocks, it's just, I guess my thing is it's like it's going to happen with anything. Like there's nothing you're going to do, whether you get a job, whether you start a business, whether you do this, whether you do that, that there's not going to be roadblocks. You know, the one thing about doing this is there's a ton of people online. There's you, but there's, you know, there's also YouTube University of people overcoming those roadblocks. You know, so it's
Yeah.
like you're in good company, and obviously Amazon, you know, it's a big enough pie for everybody. Um, and so those roadblocks just I could see somebody getting discouraged and quitting, but I just wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about the, I'm not the smartest guy, but there's people dumber than me making it
Yeah.
work, dude. I've said that to myself like since the
Hmm.
very beginning with whatever I try. It's
Right.
like, dude, like if I see somebody succeeding, it's like, well, yeah, I could throw hate, which a lot of people do, like,
Yeah.
oh fuck this guy or whatever. But it's like for me, it's usually like, well, if this guy's doing it, I was like, I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I can
I
probably
could probably
figure
do
it
it.
out,
I could
right? And
probably
it's
figure it out. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like you pair that with, you said you have this fire to make this work. And it's like I think those two things, it's like just the belief that you can do it with the motivation, it's like you'll make it happen. And it's like you
Yeah.
can't let little things because I don't know if you saw my story when you sent me that 30K in 90 days, but
Hmm.
I talked about I was like, dude, you ran into all these problems that so many people
Yeah.
run
I saw
into.
that. Yeah.
They go home and they cry about it online. And it's like, dude, like you just have to keep going. And it kind of goes back to something else that you said about, you had this hesitation in the beginning, but then after you do it a couple times, and it's like it's
Yeah.
all about reps. It's
Hmm.
all repetition. That's all it
Yeah.
takes. And it's like you just show up every single day, you're improving your skills throughout the whole time. It's like you're gonna make it work. It's like imagine if we go to the gym, I spend a whole week at the gym, I work out really hard, and then I say, oh, this gym thing doesn't work because I'm not jacked
Right.
yet. And
Yeah.
it's like the thing,
Yeah.
but people get this ego when it comes to business that they're like, well, I should have it figured out by now. And it's like,
Yeah.
you got to give some time and you got to put some effort.
Well, and the thing, so the one thing I kept telling myself is I've obviously made some bad buys. I think everybody probably makes some bad buys. And, you know, for the most part, you could break even, maybe lose a couple of bucks. It's just don't let, like that's one thing I kept telling myself. Like every bad buy is, meaning, you know, something I don't make money on or something I lose money on, the price tank, something like that.
Yeah.
Every bad buy I've either learned something on or I know well, I've learned something on, so I know what to look for in the future. And odds are, it's not like, let's say I buy something for $100, I'm not, you know, or I'm expecting to make $100, and I make zero. Like that's okay, right? It's like there's usually no product where you're making nothing, where you spend $100 on something and you're just out that $100. You could probably at least get 80 of it back, or you know, I'm just making up numbers in my head here, but but yeah, it's like as long as you learn from those things, then it's definitely going to be, you know, and look at them as a learning experience. It's going to help you to, you know, do that less. Because even from distributors, you know, which is I for some reason I didn't think that, but you can buy bad products from distributors. There are suppliers that there's a supplier I don't really work with anymore because every time the price just tanks. The price just isn't good. And you know, I haven't quite figured out why, but it's just like, well, I would just put them on pause right now, because you know I could sell those items and make my money back, or you know, so at least break even, which is, you know, sometimes that's okay. That's a good lesson that you learn. You know, sometimes that's not the end of the world, and so I wouldn't look at it that way.
Yeah. I think some people think they're going to come in and they're going to buy one thing and they're going to lose their ass on it, and it's like,
Right? Exactly.
yeah, there's going to be
Usually doesn't
tankless,
happen.
there's going to
Yeah.
be bad buys, but yeah, I completely agree. It's like usually if you have some common sense,
Hmm.
you're kind of learning throughout the process. It's like, and you notice the obvious red flags. It's like
Yeah.
you'll be fine. Like
Yeah.
your worst case scenario, yeah, maybe you lose a couple bucks, but it's not the end of the world.
But
It's
it's
not
not
like
the
you're
end. Yeah,
losing
you're
your life.
usually getting at least some back, right? Like let's say you say $1,000 on a product that ends up being a tank listing, you're probably at least getting 800 back, right? So and I'm making these numbers up. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's not a complete loss.
Let's talk about the mentorship. The mentorship is something
Mhm.
that I kind of pride myself in, and
Yeah.
one of my big selling points. How did the mentorship work for you? This is one of the things that most people that reach out to me are most skeptical about
Yeah.
because
I get it. Yeah.
Uh, not throwing any shade, but most coaches out there, it's like, hey, one-on-one mentorship, you sign up, you never hear from them, you're talking to a VA, you're talking to another coach, or you're just talking to a community. So kind of talk about the mentorship and like, did you utilize it? How many times? Like, was it actually legitimate? Just kind of give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, it was definitely legitimate, and I liked it. So there's a couple of reasons I like doing it via chat as opposed to like a call. It's you can reference it again because a lot of times, I'm sure if we were talking, I sometimes I wouldn't be able to go back to a conversation. Obviously, sometimes I would go back to the notes. And yeah, you definitely get back within 24 hours. It's usually sooner than that, but I think that's what you said. I'm not sure, but it was never a problem where I was like, oh, when is he going to answer ever? And I remember when the first product I sent you from my distributor from a wholesale product, and you saying it was a home run, I just remember that being like the biggest confidence booster. I was at my kid's baseball game too. I remember that. Yeah, so it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. You and not only do you answer, but you give like detailed responses, and then sometimes you'll answer more give more information than what I was even asking. Like there'll be things like I didn't know to ask, right? I didn't
Mhm.
because I was so fresh, and so you would provide other information, and it's definitely worth the money. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of times, sometimes people will be like, I prefer a Zoom call or this and that, but it's
Yeah,
like with the chat, it's like you have a problem on Monday, we can solve it Monday.
yeah,
Tuesday, we can solve
right,
it
right,
Tuesday. With the group call, it's like, well, you can wait 5 days and then I'll answer your question as while I'm answering everybody else's question.
right.
But I didn't even think about that as far as like the mentorship and being in the chat where you can reference it back. I
Yeah,
like it's obvious, and I never even thought about that. It's like,
yeah,
dude, that's a good point. It's like, yeah, you can go back and all right, I had this problem and this is how we solved it. But yeah,
right.
I'm glad that the
Let's say you're looking for a distributor or something like that, and you have a question about it. It's like, okay, I figured that out this time, but next distributor I'm looking for, maybe I have a similar same problem, something like that.
Mhm.
I did go back and look a couple of times at a few things I remember.
Yeah, such a good point because I remember I was in this coaching program, this marketing program, and no, it's not like that, right? It's a call, right? So then
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell did he say on there about this
Right.
one thing?
Yeah.
So I ended up having to reach out to them and have them email me the Zoom call just so I can reference back to it. But
Yeah.
that's such a good point. Anybody that's watching this interview right now, if they're on the fence about joining the program, would you recommend the program? What would you have to tell them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely recommend the program. I definitely think that you get far more than your money worth out of it. If I hadn't joined the program, I mean, it's hard to even say what I would have done. I don't know if I would have even looked for distributors. I don't know. It's hard to play that kind of hypothetical game, but it's definitely worth it. It's not like a get rich quick scheme, right? It's not this like or this like autopilot, this business on autopilot. It's really not. It kind of can be like there's a lot of
Mhm.
front loaded work and then back end kind of benefits of that. But it's something that if you're willing to put in the work, definitely. Right. If you're, I guess, if you're kind of just dabbling, then I probably wouldn't. But if it's something where you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go, let's do it. And that's another thing. So I'm kind of a cynical guy where like motivation stuff didn't really ever like affect me. Like I'd be like, shut up, like get out of here. But for some reason, and I'm not blowing smoke up your butt either, but it's like it works. Like I was like, okay, like the stuff you'd say in either your stories or what you'd say to us because you'll sometimes you'll send voice memos as opposed to writing, which is good. You can still refer back to it. Um, it definitely helped motivate and kind of keep you on the path of doing this.
Cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, sometimes I'm like that too. The motivation stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
all right, or whatever, you know.
like all right, I don't need you don't need to tell me what's knitted on a pillow. I don't care, but like
Yeah, yeah. But I appreciate that. All right.
yeah,
So last question.
yeah.
So knowing what you know now, you've done 40,000 in the last 30 days, took you 14 weeks to be able to achieve that. If you had to give one piece of advice to somebody who's starting brand new and they need to get to 10K per month, what would that piece of advice be?
Honestly, just do it. Like this is a proven method. Like this is a proven system. Like there's so many people who've done this. I would find what you like, whether it is RA, whether it's wholesale, whether it's arbitrage. the or online arbitrage. So it's one of those three. I would just push, just push through it, find out what you like, and then go into that. Like you said, I liked wholesale because I'm, at work, my other work, I'm used to talking to vendors, I'm used to talking to people, so that kind of came easy to me. But if that's not you, let's say you're 20 or whatever, and you're trying this, then yeah, online arbitrage can definitely, be good. And so find what you like, find what you, and then just do it and get the first little wins. That's what I would say. Like, don't give up and get the first little wins. Cause it's funny. You see people post like, it doesn't seem like that much, oh, $1,000 a month or, whatever it is. And you're kind of like, oh, it's not that much, but it's the compounding and it's the building and it's the kind of the little wins that'll add up to big wins.
Yeah, such a simple answer, but it's like that is so spot on.
Yeah.
Just start, just do it, and focus on those wins. And I, it's funny you bring that up with the people say, oh, it's $1,000. It's not that much. This I hate when people do that. Like I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
don't diminish your wins. It's like
Yeah.
1 month ago we're at zero.
Right.
2 months ago you didn't even know about Amazon FBA. You just went and did 2, 3, 4, 5K in revenue, and it's like don't diminish those wins. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that those little wins every single day, it's like such a mental shift that it's almost like it's kind of proving to yourself that it's like, okay, this is possible.
Yeah.
And you're completely right. It's like this has been around for so many
Yeah.
years. And it's like so many years, and every single year more and more people are doing it. It's like, yeah, dude, figure it
Yeah.
out. Just
Exactly. Proof of
lock it.
concept. There's people who make millions of dollars doing this, like
Yeah.
literal millions of dollars. And so it's like just do it.
And then, talking about choosing the right selling model, it's like that's another benefit of the program. It's like, well, with the program, you're going to learn arbitrage, retail, online
Yeah.
arbitrage, but you're also going to learn
Yeah.
wholesale. You want to work with
Mhm.
distributors? Okay, we got that. You want to work with brands? Okay, we got that. And it's
Yeah.
like you can learn everything. It's almost kind of builds on each other. So it's not like, oh, all right, I built a little bit of a arbitrage business. Now what do I do? I don't know how to get into wholesale. It's like, no,
Right.
it's just stepping stones. There's a
Yeah.
gradual progression, and then you're
Mhm.
good to go.
And it is also nice, I will add too, that you add to the program. So it's not like I think there's a couple modules you just came out with just recently. So it's
Mhm.
not like, so as things change, you add to it. So as information changes, as policies, Amazon policy changes or whatever, it's not just this, you made it once, however long ago, and that's it.
Now, if you want to be a part of the one-on-one mentorship program that I do offer that's helping my clients go from zero to their first 10K per month in record time, you're going to want to click that first link in the description. It's going to give you all of the details that you need to know. But keep in mind, guys, this is true one-on-one coaching. I am helping you personally, no VAs, nothing like that. I'm not throwing you into a group and you're hoping for the best. I'm not telling you to show up to busy Zoom calls and hoping that your question gets answered. This is true one-on-one mentorship, and that's why my clients get results just like all of these that I'm flashing on screen right now in record time. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the interview, and I will see you guys in the next one.